Hello everyone. Today we're going to continue with waxing of the maxillary posterior teeth. In the last video, we had established the location of the cusp cones, added a little wax, marked the red lines, marked the red tips, everything else we did. This is all now project 2, so I'm moving a little faster. You should be too. By this point, you should have gotten through about 7 weeks of the semester by the time you're watching this video and doing it yourself. So again, with the end in mind, let's go back and look at what we're doing. We've already finished the buccal contour, we finished the lingual contour. Now we're going into the line and point angles on the 4 corners of each tooth. And I think we're going to jump over and do the step after that. So the line angles and point angles, as you remember, were done in blue wax, and I'm going to do that in a second. Then I'll jump over to the green wax and we'll do the marginal ridges, mesial and distal. If you remember on the number 1, the contact on the marginal ridges was distal, 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 but on the maxillary teeth, it's mesial, 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 mesial. So let's get ready before we start. And as you're looking, remember everything has a V shape, so large lingual, large buccal, small occlusal, very large cervical. Okay, so all the embrasures. Make sure you do this because the teeth will never look the way they're supposed to if you don't establish the embrasures. And again, remember, we're adding the wax. We'll be adding the wax in a V shape. So let's start in no particular area, and I'll do 1 or 2 just so you can see, or if you remember from the first project. Remember I had mentioned the blue wax stain. It has a tremendous amount of pigment in it. If you put it in the wrong place and you try to scrape it away, the model will be blue forever. And it just doesn't look right, and it kind of shows you don't know what you're doing. So let's try to get it right the first time. And remember, it's the mesial and distal that touch on adjacent teeth. So there would be no reason to be putting any blue wax out on a labial surface. So what I'm doing is I'm building up, and remember there was no contact on the line angles. The contact was on the red and not on the tip, but it was on the mesial and distal inclination, of the cusp tip. So we've already established that. So there is no contact here, but the teeth will be close enough, the opposing teeth, that a patient can chew. But there is no intercuspation at that point. So I'm just building up the mesial corner, the line angle. It's relatively square, we know that already. Once I have that done, I can go over to the lingual portion. If I want to taper it, I can make the embrasure a little more defined, open that area up, open the interdental papilla, blend it in. There's that portion. Now I can come over to the lingual side. And again, this will all be done in laboratory class also, so you'll see it in real time. I'm building up the mesio-lingual line angle on the first premolar. Again, no contact. And I am not doing the marginal ridge yet. The marginal ridge will be the next step. A lot of people make a mistake and they try to combine it and rush, and then it comes out and it's a mess, and you have to cut it out and start all over again. So better to do it correct the first time. Take the master model. Remember, we've talked about this. You have to have this master model with you at all times. So the portion that I'm doing right now is this little corner right here and this little corner right here. I am not doing the marginal ridge yet. So I'm doing the line angle here. I am doing the line angle here. I think I've mentioned before, this is the biggest complaint that all the doctors have. They said our students are very, very good with their occlusal concepts, with other areas, but they said they have a great difficulty, and this is after you graduate and you're first employed, with you grasping this concept. Eventually everyone gets it, but the sooner the better. And I've heard it from many, many doctors and many lab owners, so it must be true. So let's give special attention to that little corner. It'll define the shape of the entire tooth. It's more difficult, so don't think you're doing anything wrong, that you're having more trouble doing this step than other steps. But it's just the nature of it, and once you can do it, you can do it. Okay, so we've done the blue wax, mesial and mesial. Now I will continue on each one, so I can do it here and here. I can do it here, 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 here. Remember, everything's shaped like a V. So if I was going to come in between these two premolars, I'm not putting wax out here. I actually would be all the way down inside. Let's mark it in blue. My very first drop of blue wax, remember we're going to do them separate, would be down in here. I would start all the way down in the cervical area. I would build up a V shape this way, then I build up a V shape that way. And when I close it, there should be no void at the end once it's closed. So if I take this model, and let's mark it, if I would go and wax this area, this area, this area, these two areas, and these two areas, and this area, put the two together in articulation, you can see there is no space, but there is no contact there either. But there is no space. Move it in lateral, you can move it working, balancing, protrusion, retraction. So if you do it correctly, that space that you're seeing will be gone. So the area where I'm placing my instrument, and you can see the penetration, that's exactly where it's going to go. But keep thinking in a V shape. So let's use our imagination and make believe that I've already done all of them, which I will have done after I turn off this video. But now let's jump over. Let's combine two steps. So in a laboratory, again, you'll be doing it with one color. So once you finish the red, you finish the blue, so you have the buccal lingual contour, you have the mesial and mesial inclinations of the buccal and lingual cusp. Now we can come on to the marginal ridge. And we looked at the textbook, and the textbook shows there is contact on the mesial. So we'll do all the mesials, we'll get them all in contact, then we just duplicate it, the one next to it. Again, do not try to do both at the same time. It's just going to be a big mess. Do not try to do the distal one, because you won't know where to stop. Either it's going to be too tall or too short. But these we know exactly. We're going to keep building it up until a contact comes. So let's do that now. And if you remember from the last, we did it in green wax. You can do this at home. You can do it in a lab if you have time. There's nothing going on. You can walk into an open lab somewhere. If there's a class in session, just walk in. This is not a messy procedure. So you could ask the instructor, can I sit at the bench and do some of my waxing? They will have no problem with that. So now it only took me a couple seconds. I've built up the mesial marginal ridge. Close it down. Not quite yet. Let's go with another drop. Marginal ridge, it's a linear wall running from the buccal to the lingual. There's the contact. Take an instrument, just smooth it off slightly. Use your study model. If you don't know exactly what it looks like, keep looking at your study models. Eventually the day will come you won't need a study model anymore. Once I close it in centric occlusion, now move it working, balancing, protrusion, retraction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, various movements. You can see the contact is even bigger now when you look at it. So I had the centric, but as soon as I slid off right and left, front and back, you can see it's a much larger contact. So now, once I have that, I'll go to the next one. I'll do mesial, 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 and just progression, I'll do it much faster. So once I stop this video, I'll finish the blue here, 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 and here. Then I'll jump over and I'll do the green wax. Maybe I'll leave one for the beginning of the next video, so you'll just see how it's all finishing off. Then we'll jump on to the next step. Okay, so that's it now. Good luck.